What's up, everyone? And today I'm bringing a deck profile on my Fairy Tales. Now, Fairy Tales is an interesting deck that actually got one of its card back from the ban list in the form of Fairy Tale Snow. And so without further ado, let's get right into it. Now first, I run 3 Fairy Tale Luna. Luna, when it is normal summon, you can add one spellcaster type monster with 1850 attack from your deck to your hand, aka the Fairy Tales. Although it also works with Charmers too. And this has a really cool effect where you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls. Your opponent can send one card with that monster's name from the deck or extra deck to the graveyard to negate this effect. Otherwise, return both this card and that monster to the hand. So essentially, it's a compulse where your opponent has a chance to actually negate it by sending an extra copy to the graveyard. In some instances, they will, like if it's a main deck monster, but if it's something like an Access Code, Phoenix Forcer, obviously they won't be able to do that. Next, I run 3 Roachka. Roachka, if it's normal summon, you can make your opponent gain 500 line points, and your opponent looks at the top 3 cards of your deck and chooses one of them to give to you, or to add to your hand, and shuffle the rest back into the deck. I also run 3 Fairy Tale Sleeper. Sleeper, when it is flipped, you can special summon one monster from your hand, and when your opponent activates a normal spell trap card, quick effect, you tribute one other monster. The activated effect becomes change one face-up monster your opponent controls to face-down defense position. So essentially, you're going to force your opponent to flip one of your Fairy Tales back face down. Or in the case of Sleeper, you will essentially be able to use this effect again. Next, I run 3 Relia. Now pick a target monster on the field with spell cards or effects, except this one, and once per turn you can discard one spell. Equip one equipped spell from your hand, deck, or graveyard to this card, but return that equipped spell to the hand during the end phase. Which isn't really going to matter too much because we only run like one equipped spell, so and we're usually going to use it immediately. Also run 1 Fairy Tale Snow. Man, I never thought I'd be running Fairy Tale Snow in a deck profile again. Well, actually I never used it in deck profile because it was banned before I started this channel, but if this card is normal or special summoned, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, change its face-down defense position so it's kind of like a Pokemon. But the really cool part is during either player's turn, if this card is in your graveyard, you can banish 7 other cards from your hand, field, and or graveyard, spell summon this card. And that is not once per turn. So let's say you have Tola in your hand, field, and grave, 14 cards. You can essentially summon this twice so it can like help you link time. So it kind of helps you like go into something like Access Code to essentially finish the game. Also run 2 Ash, 2 Ogre, 2 Mourner, and an effect there for hand traps. Moving on to the spells, I run 3 Fairy Tale Tales. Fairy Tale Tales, you can reveal one spellcaster monster in your hand with 1850 attack, and a different name from the monsters you control. Immediately after this effect resolves normal summon, set it. So essentially, it's a double summon for your Fairy Tales. And I also run 3 Secret Village of the Spellcasters. Considering how used spell cards are in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, you know, you got your Prosperities, your Dark Rulers, Droplets, Triple Tactics, Lightning Storms, so many spells. A card like Secret Village of Spellcasters is just going to completely shut that off. Because essentially, if you control a spellcaster type monster and your opponent can... If only you control a spellcaster monster, your opponent cannot activate spell cards. But if you don't control a spellcaster type monster, you cannot activate spells. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, but this is a spellcaster deck, so we're pretty much almost always going to have a spellcaster on field. Next, I run 2 Mystic Mine. Unfortunately, this deck kind of plays like more of a slower kind of grind game, so a card like Mystic Mine really helps in that category. And if we have to end up having to stay on Mystic Mine for 20 turns, that actually makes this deck better, because that will just fuel up your graveyard for snow. Also run 3 Pot of Prosperity and 3 Pot of Duality for excavate powers, as well as the 1 Wonder Wand. You can send this card and the monster is equipped to the graveyard to draw 2 cards. And you can search it with Relia. Moving on to the traps, I run 2 Summon Limit. We don't really do a whole lot of summoning, so like most maybe will summon like 2 times a turn. I'd say usually around the max. Sometimes I might go to 3 to 4, but I say 2 is the average, so I definitely want to run 3 Summon Limit, because that's definitely going to hurt your opponent way more than it hurts you. I also run the 3 Infinite Impermanence, because they're impermanents. Moving on to the extra deck, I run the 1 Akashic Magician. Akashic Magician is really good in this deck. It requires 2 monsters with the same type except tokens, and you can only link summon this once per turn. If this card is link summoned, return all monsters this card points to the hand. And once per turn you can declare 1 card name. Excavate cards from the top of your deck equal to the total link ratings of link monsters co-linked to this card. Then you can activate any copies of the declared card, or if you activate any copies of the declared card, add them to your hand. Also send the remaining to your graveyard, so it can really help you dig for the card you want. Also run 1 IP Masquerena, 3 Nightmare Phoenix, 3 Cerberus, and a Unicorn, because we have a lot of extra deck space. The 1 Lina, also run 1 Selene, Queen Magister of Magicians, an Alpalosa, and an Access Code. I do run some XYZs in the form of Jagaris and Abyss Dweller. Most oftentimes you're unlikely to go into, but if you do go into it, you can use it to go into Zeus. So that's all from my Fairy Tale deck profile. Let me know, what do you think of this deck? Do you think it's a pretty cool deck? Are you happy that Snow's back? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video I make. Bye.